how to manifest an SP even if the circumstances are horrible. Okay? Manifesting an SP is the most desired manifestation in the world. But I think the thing that makes it very difficult for people to manifest their SPs is not that they didn't do their technique correctly. What I think it is that a lot of people have this idea that because they heard that somebody on Reddit or somebody on YouTube manifested their specific person within 24 fucking hours, that if they don't manifest their SP in 24 damn hours, then they just give up. That is what I believe is what really is causing people to not manifest their SP. I believe that the moment that you visualize and you see it, and you see that you have your SP, I believe that all it takes is one imaginal act, and then that's all it takes for you to plant the seed. I truly believe that. However, just like Neville has talked about before, you can have a miscarriage of the birth, so to speak, of your manifestation, and therefore cause it to die. I believe that giving up on your manifestation and thinking that it has to come at a certain pace and a certain deadline is what is causing a lot of miscarriages for SPs. Because let's think about it for a second, okay? Most of us typically are not manifesting an SP that we know we could get easily. We're not trying to manifest fucking 2 out of 10s, okay? We're not trying to manifest the fucking whale that works in the office with us, okay? No. All right? And if you are, well, you know, that's another story. But most of us are trying to manifest someone who we think is out of our league, or someone who we think is hard to obtain, which is why we are going to the help of the gods, right? But either ways, I'm talking too much, right? It's already 3 minutes of this introduction. So look, how I would manifest an SP even if the circumstances were horrible. Let's say they have a third party, which is what a lot of people experience. Your SP has a boyfriend. Your SP has a girlfriend, right? You have to detach from the 3D, because it is impossible for you to see your specific person with a spouse or in another relationship, and for you to just tell yourself, no, I'm living in the end. Me and my SP are in the relationship of our dreams. It's near impossible for you to be so affected by the 3D, and yet you are supposed to believe that you are already in your end. It's practically diabolical. It's practically insane, right? So before you do any technique, I believe that it is extremely important for you to learn how to detach from the 3D. And what I would suggest you do, there's many different ways to tell you this, but you have to understand that you are not the mind, you are not the body, okay? You are just the observer of whatever you experience in your mind and your body, which means when you saw on Instagram that your specific person posted a story with their new partner, their new boyfriend, their new girlfriend, you witnessed that with your eyes, right? But if I just told you that you're not the mind and you are not the body, then that means that whatever you saw with your eyes, whether it was an Instagram story of your specific person in a relationship, that is not real. Now, why do I say that you are not the mind, that you are not the body? I say that because you have to understand the thing that many people still have a hard time realizing. You are God. That's right. No, you did not create the heavens and the earth. No, you did not create Adam and Eve and Noah's Ark and all that. You are an eternal being living in a human, wait for it, a human experience. Now, I could go into another 20 minutes trying to convince you of that, but if you don't believe that, then this is not really going to help you. But what I'm telling you is, just because you see something with your eyes, just because you experience emotional pain in your body, all pain is just a sensation in your body. How many times do we feel sadness, we feel nervousness, anxiety, and it's like a huge tension in our chest? It's affecting our breathing. Our breathing, our chest, everything, all that is connected to our body, but we are not the mind, we are not the body. So this is how I ultimately would detach from the 3D. And yes, I'm going to get to the techniques, but again, if you don't get this, then I could tell you what visual to see. I could tell you what affirmations to say, but you probably already know affirmations or visuals either ways. So that's why I'm saving this for last. But if you don't detach from the 3D, you're not going to, the visualizations and affirmations are not really going to be that effective. When you realize that you are not the mind, that you are not the body, and that you are just the observer of the mind and the body, you realize that nothing out here is real. You realize that all this is just a reflection of something, and I'm going to get to that later. But this is where you truly feel the shift, is when you realize this. If you are not the mind and you're not the body, then that means that the person that you see in the mirror every single morning when you brush your teeth is not the real you. So therefore, if your SP rejected you for somebody else, or maybe it's not even that they have a third party, but it's just that you don't have the balls to go up to them and talk to them, and you perceive that they haven't given you the signal that you would like in order for you to feel that you have the green light to approach them, right? Whatever it is. The point is your perception of yourself, the person that you see in the mirror, that is not the real you. Because like I said, it is somebody that you are witnessing through your eyes that are not your true identity. So if your true identity is the observer, which is the person who is perceiving this character that you have been playing this whole time, but yet you were able to believe that you are this character for the 20, 30, 40 years of your life, and you believed it with conviction, then if you can believe in an illusion here in the 3D, you can also believe in another illusion in the 4D. And that other illusion is you going into your imagination and asking yourself, what would my life feel like, look like, and be like if I had the same appearance, if I had the same flaws, but if I had the SP and the money of my dreams? Okay? And I add money because, let's face it, most of us are not millionaires. Okay? So go in your imagination right now That's step one. That's the first technique. After you realize that you are not the mind, you are not the body, and that you are not the character that you believe that you were, the person that all your teachers talked about whenever your parents had a parent and teacher conference, the person that people would make fun of growing up in high school, whatever. This human being that you think you are not. So if you can believe in an illusion and it works when you believe in that illusion, then why not shift to another illusion, but one that is in your favor? Because you can't no longer change the 3D. I mean, you can try to change things of your appearance. You can try to go to the gym. But if you have if you have a negative image in your head, remember, image is just short for imagination. If you have a negative image of yourself in your brain, that is what's going to eventually get reflected, because that is the second thing I'm going to tell you. Okay? After you imagine the version of yourself who looks the same, but the only difference is that it has SP and the money of your dreams, then all you have to do is realize that the whole world before you that you perceive with your eyes, also known as a 3D, is a reflection of things that was going on in your 4D. The 4D is the imagination. So if everything out here is a reflection of old assumptions is just another way of saying old imaginations, things that you put in your brain. Remember, all your thoughts are imaginations, because even if you say pink elephant, but you're not trying to have a visualization session, you still will have an image of a pink elephant in your brain. So it's the same thing. Even when you're thinking about, oh, I gotta fucking do laundry when I get home, there is a brief image that pops up in your brain. Kind of like a memory, right? Your visualizations are the same video format as your memories, right? So when you keep going to this idea, this imagination, this fantasy of what would my life be like if I had the SP and the money, but I still looked the same, but I still drove the same route to work every day. Maybe you might realize that, oh shit, there's something wrong here. I'm not driving the same route to work every day because, I'm making more money. I have a different career. I'm working at home. I have my own online business. Maybe that's the first thing that pops up in your imagination. Go with the flow. Don't try to manage or adjust your imagination. Whenever you go in your imagination, you are speaking to your higher self. So accept whatever your higher self gives you. Now, if you start seeing different images that have nothing to do with what you asked it, that's probably not your higher self talking. That's probably your old self-concept, your old imaginations, your old manifestations manifesting in your thoughts. But as long as you get something that correlates to the question of what would my ideal life be like if I had the SP and had the money, then keep going through whatever flows in your imagination and walk in that. Now, the second fundamental is understanding that whatever you see in the 3D is simply a recycling of what you have seen in the 4D in your imagination. So with that in mind, you realize that whether you see immediate results, whether you see that you have SP after the imaginal act in the 3D or not, you know that it is coming because you realize now that that is the way reality works. And if you see delays, it's not that you did the manifestation wrong. See, this is where everybody quits. This is what separates the successful manifestors from the ones that fail, is that you think that it has to happen in a certain deadline. If you manifest on Tuesday but don't get the results by Sunday, that doesn't mean that you fucked up in your manifestation. That doesn't mean that you didn't visualize correctly. Remember, I've said this, your visualizations do not need to be in fucking IMAX 3D Blu-ray, okay? You have been manifesting your whole life, and you haven't been focusing on how much resolution was in the vivid imagery of your imaginations when you were manifesting your ex cheating on you. No. You just told yourself, oh, what if he cheats on me? What if she is talking to another guy, and boom, 2 months later, she was talking to another guy. It's the same way when you're manifesting in your favor, okay? So realize that when you see delays, they're not actually delays. They are just that your life is reflecting everything in order. And if you spent your whole life talking negatively about yourself, especially about your dating life, guess what? You're going to keep seeing that reflected. So it's best that you get started right away. Now, it is true that maybe even if you have some delayed manifestations of your old concept, you could maybe interrupt them with the manifestation of your SP. However, two things. It is possible that you could just simply manifest it because it is an assumption that you might have had already in the past that, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I'm still good looking and I can get hot girls. Maybe you will get the hot girl. Maybe you will get your SP, but you could push her away if you don't persist in understanding the next fundamental, which is self-concept. When you put yourself on the pedestal and you tell yourself things like, I am God and everybody worships me at my feet. Everywhere I go, people look at me like if I'm a celebrity. All my SPs are like flowers in my garden, but I'm the sun. When you say crazy stuff like that, it is so borderline dumb that it's going to make you feel something. Because if you spent your whole life speaking negatively about yourself and you start saying things like, all my SPs, all the hot women in the world are satellites in my solar system, but I'm gravity itself, then your subconscious is going to get to the point where it will have to show things through your reticular system that correlate with whatever you keep feeding it. And if you keep feeding it narcissistic, crazy, ego boosting shit, then hate to break it to you, pal, but you are going to see a shift in your reality where, whether it's in your dating life or whether it's in your career or whether it's when you're waiting in line at the grocery store, don't be surprised if someone says, here, you can cut in front of me. Or, hey, what are you buying over there? Apples? Here, let me pay for that. You will notice that in everything, not just in your dating life, when you put yourself on the pedestal. So if you want the quickest way to jump the line and counteract those old manifestations, also known as what many people are experiencing as delays in their manifestation, which is what makes many people quit in the first place, I would suggest you put yourself such on the pedestal that your reality has no other choice but to respond. Because out of all the things, whether it was an imaginal act or whether it was, just dropping the desire and going with the flow, all of the things, out of all the techniques, that was the one thing that really made me feel the shift, is when I started putting myself on the pedestal. It is what I call self-pedestalization. And it's really simple. All you do is make an affirmation so fucking crazy that people borderline would call you a narcissistic sociopath. But remember, you're the only one watching this movie. You don't have to tell anybody your affirmations. The point is not to become a damn serial killer. The point is to go from talking shit every single day about your life, even to the point where it is surprising if someone gives you a compliment, where it even feels weird if someone gives you a compliment. If that's where you are, you need this shit. So put yourself on the pedestal, and then remember that your imaginal acts don't need to be this crazy special thing. I would suggest that when you do imagine, make it a 5-second imagination and try your best to keep it in first person perspective. I'm not saying that if you don't do it in first person perspective and if you watch it like a David Fincher film, that no, there's no way that you can get your manifestation. But we watch the 3D in first person. So the more natural you can do it, the more natural it's going to feel. So I would suggest make your imaginal scene first person perspective, make it short as possible so that way you can keep going back to it, kind of like your favorite TikTok. Okay, just keep that in repeat, make it simple, believable. The shorter the better, because our attention span, scientifically proven, has been known to only last between 5 to 10 seconds, maybe less. Okay, and after that our brain starts getting distracted. So the shorter the better. And don't focus so much on the vividness. The most important thing is if you can feel something. And I'm not saying that if you are imagining you kissing your specific person that you have to feel their lips, although for some reason that's one of the easiest things for me, is the sense of touch in my imaginal acts. But if you can't feel the sense of touch, what I talk about more and what Neville talks about more about feeling the secret is when you feel like you accomplished something when you did the imaginal act. So when you do it enough times and you feel like, okay, yeah, I think I hit the spot, I think I shifted something in my subconscious, that is when you can either stop it and just leave it to God, or you can go back to it whenever there's negative thoughts. But you don't want to keep doing it to the point where you're asking yourself, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? You want to get to the point where you forget about it, because I truly believe that if you can forget about your desire after you impress your subconscious, it is the same way like when we get things when we don't give a fuck. Detachment. So, quick review. Understand that you are God, that you are not the mind, that you are not the body, that you are just an eternal being, and that you are not the character that you thought you have been this whole time. So therefore, if you can believe in an illusion of a character that you are not actually, if you can believe in a false identity, then you can also believe in another false identity created in your imagination, but this time in your favor. Because here's a secret: you have created everything that you see in your 3D currently the same way. So reverse engineer, create a new version of yourself in your imagination, and you will create a new reality. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but the quickest way to boost your results is to boost your self-concept, and that is where self-pedestalization comes in. I cannot speak, guys. I woke up at 4 this morning, okay? I did an opening shift. But either ways, guys, let me know what you guys think about this format of video. If you think I should make these videos shorter, if you guys think that this way of making videos is good and concise and understandable. If not, leave some questions down below. Until then, guys, I am Neil Arthos. This is all that the I'm Awareness had to say, and I know you're going to be okay.